streamed Natasha's session, and I set a timer so that it would automatically stop streaming after a certain length of time, and it worked.
Wow.
I
Oh,
know.
that's why. I
Yeah.
think, oh, Lynn is awake. Lynn is
No.
awake.
I'm getting very much into this automation business. Bots have opened a whole new world of possibilities for me. I mean, it's not that I can't rely on it to... I mean, it won't switch everything off for me. So I still have to be around. But what it should prevent, as I said to Aladdin... Oh, and Amatsu popped in to Discord yesterday. Aladdin, Marco and I were chatting very late at night. And as I said to Aladdin, it will stop me streaming for 2 hours, a blank screen. And stop him panicking, trying to contact me, saying, Lynn, stop streaming. Anyway, I nailed it exactly. Well, I'm nailing it. I don't think I've nailed it yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting to a point where I feel, okay, this is good. It's only taken me since 1999. When I think about how I used to do things in 1999 to what's available now, wow, things have changed so much. Trouble is, a lot of it's got more professional as well, so that's not always so good for me. Anyway, last week, could somebody explain to Vinay what we did in last week's session? Don't all speak up at once.
Yeah, please.
Oh yeah, Monique as well, yes. What were we talking about last week? Come on, April, you know.
But there are a lot of places named, so that's why I can't remember all.
What was the
But
main,
we
the things that stuck in your mind?
It's about that lighthouses in the past. It was important to give a safe route for ships and to warn them where there is how do you say that? A shovel? No, shoals places, and the reef, for example, also, so they can enter the port, for example, safely because of the lighthouse. Lighthouse is a tower where at the top there is a light. It could be working on oil or something else, even animal oil, argan oil or something like.
Oh wow, I'm impressed. Yeah. Yeah, we the different kinds of lighthouses. I think you were trying to think of shallow,
Shallow?
the shallows.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sometimes when you've got shallow water, we call it the shallows, or basically underwater rocks as well. They were there to warn against shipping hazards. Yeah, to warn against shipping.
Shovel. This one.
Shoals. Okay, yes. Shoals can be
Yeah.
slightly different as well, though. You can have shoals of fish. Yeah. So if you have a shoal of fish, that's quite good. That's fish swimming together. So I think shallow water would be better. You can also have a shoal where it's submerged rocks. So submerged. Oh, hang on. I can't type. I'm in the wrong box. Hang it. Submerged rocks. So all of that would come under shipping hazards. And because of the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot more shipping about and a lot more money being placed on shipping goods. And of course, nobody wants to lose the ship, the people, but unfortunately, especially the goods. It was driven by commerce more than philanthropy, I'm afraid. But yes, these lighthouses, they were built, I mean, they had been ancient, and then, but there were 3 or 4 ancient lighthouses, and then suddenly people were building them wherever there was a shipping hazard. And what was the other hazard that seafarers had to face, April?
I think about that people in the past, it is in the 19th century that I think they purposely make some signs with fire on the cliff in the hope that but it is not the safe place. It's not the safe place, so the ships will come there and they will crash the cliff, or so it make the ship down under in the water and then sink.
Yeah. Well, they weren't so interested in sinking the ships. They were interested in grounding them, that they would run aground. Yeah, they would run aground. Okay. And
they will wreck the stuff from the ship, and that's why it calls wrecking.
Yeah, the wreckers, absolutely. How can lighthouses, now you wouldn't say save the ship hazards, I'd say protect the ships against hazards. Basically, they light up areas that are dangerous, and as long as the person who's navigating, who's actually steering the ship, knows where the lighthouses are, they'll recognise the lighthouse and they'll know, okay, that's so-and-so lighthouse, I need to go left now. And they'll avoid the sandbanks, they'll avoid the rocks, the cliffs, and they'll find their way into safe harbour. But the wreckers would deliberately light a bonfire to fool the navigator into going the wrong direction and running aground. And then they would basically plunder the ship. It was, of course, illegal, and more laws were put in place to prevent this kind of wrecking. Okay. Nowadays, people have navigation systems, satellites telling them where to go, and so the lighthouses have kind of died out. But do you know what we would call somebody who worked in a lighthouse? Any idea what the job title would be of someone who worked in a lighthouse? Open question. Who knows?
A lighthouse keeper?
Yes, exactly. The lighthouse keeper. Now, can you think of any other job titles with the name keeper?
Shopkeeper.
Shopkeeper, yeah, that tends to be the owner, yeah, the shopkeeper. Or the manager. Any others? Zookeeper?
Zookeeper?
Yeah, zookeeper. Any idea what a zookeeper does?
At the zoo and just watching the
Well, they basically look after the animals in the zoo. Housekeeper, good, Vinay. So what does a housekeeper do? That's still a job title today, actually, but you have to buy very specific, something like the lady, if you want to advertise for a housekeeper. Some people still do. They still advertise for housekeepers. Storekeeper as well. Somebody who looks after the warehouse, etc. But the lighthouse keeper, any ideas? What do you think a lighthouse keeper would do? What would their daily routine be like? What would their job description be like? Take the mic. Don't type. Vinay.
Yeah, as you told, housekeep, the lighthouse keeper. the working of lighthouse, as you told me that it navigates the ship, it protects ships to hazards in the way of ship, and to protect direct impact of rock stones. Okay, so
Yep.
the lighthouse keeper um, just impact, just control. He has control over the lights.
Yes.
Uh,
That's it. That I think that's
yeah,
probably you're right. That's probably the most important job for any lighthouse keeper is to make sure that light is burning 24/7. That the light doesn't go out. Now, April, you mentioned before the different light mechanisms that they had. Often in the past, oil was used, bright burning oil, but of course then mechanization, electrification came in, electricity was available, and the lamps and the lights changed. Some of them were argon gas lamps, and others were, I think nowadays, LED, because there still are lighthouses out there, but the lighthouse keeper, yeah, it's one of those jobs that have been sacrificed to mechanization, I'm afraid. Now, there is a book called The Lighthouse Keeper, which is actually a pretty good book, and if you get the chance to read it, I'll give you the title. Okay, you've put, April, you've written they shouldn't have acrophobia. That's not really a job description, though. Why do you think they don't need to have acrophobia? What might spark off somebody with acrophobia if they worked in a lighthouse?
They are afraid in the height.
They're afraid of heights, yeah. And so
Height.
once they were up where the light is, you're very high up. The whole point of a lighthouse was to be high up so that you could, the light could be seen from as far away as possible. So yes, I guess you'd be okay in the lighthouse, in the building, but once you got up to where the lamp is, you'd probably go, whoa! So what other duties do you think a lighthouse keeper would have? Okay, let's do a reading then. Okay, April, you were the first person to speak to me, so if you'd like to read the first couple of paragraphs, please. Okay.
Gladly, thank you. The lighthouse keeper. A lighthouse keeper is the person responsible for tending and caring for a lighthouse, particularly the light and lamps in the days when oil lamps and clockwork mechanism were used. Their task, with E-I, I think, their task included trimming the wicks, replenishing fuel, winding clockworks, and performing general maintenance tasks such as cleaning lenses and windows. Oh, I thought it was without window, just an open tower there up.
Oh,
Up
well,
there.
sometimes they were required to live in. Yes, and you were quite right. Sorry, bad cut and paste from Wikipedia there. It should be their tasks. So THEIR. Spell checkers won't catch that, I'm afraid. So winding clockwork. Now, what part of the lighthouse do you think would be clockwork? Where does clockwork come in? It's not a clock. Any ideas?
It is, I think, like in the ship where you have to the the wheel of the ship, something like that. So around, but it doesn't has any other else except you have to wind it up.
Well,
Wind up
it was
or
mostly to do with the light. It was no good just having a steady light shining. The light rotated so that it would blink on and off, which is more eye-catching. Okay, if you have a constant light, is that the light of a house? Is it the light of a building? Is it somebody, the light of a bonfire maybe? So by having the light rotate and sweeping round, of course they needed a mechanism for that. So that was a clockwork mechanism that would rotate the light. Okay, no problem, Vinay. It might be in your settings. Go to your preferences and see if you can keep it, keep the actual text. Or just click on chat. There should be a chat button. And that should pin, for example, I'll show you, you can watch the video and I'll show you. If I click chat off, the chat window disappears. If I click it on, it appears in the top right. Okay, that sort of sticks the chat window, so try that. Okay, any questions?
but the lighthouse keeper doesn't need to wind the engine the whole time, will it? It's just once, and it will be like a clock. It will go. It will return
Yes,
until
it will.
is.
They wind it up, then, like most mechanisms, we know about energy. Energy in, energy out. There's no such thing as free energy. It would wind down over maybe the day, and then he'd have to wind it up the next day. So it would wind down over the night, and then the next day probably he'd have to wind it up again. As you say, like an old-fashioned clock. Probably young people watching this will go, what are they talking about? I just switch on my smartphone. But it was the ancient equivalent of recharging your batteries.
During the day, Lind, is it necessary, the light?
No. During the day, the lights, well, people can see. I mean, maybe in fog, okay? Because these lights were very powerful. They could cut through the fog. But yes, during the day, you'd see a bloody great rock coming towards you. You'd see the lighthouse and know that there were some rocks hidden beneath, and you needed to go to the left of the lighthouse. So at night and in fog, that light needed to be shining. Okay.
So
the Lighthouse Keeper is a really good book. Actually, it's do give it if you get the chance to read it. Do, because it talks a lot about and the loneliness of the job as well. I mean, they were very remote. You had to be willing to live alone and to get lonely. Some people lived with their families on tiny little islands and raised their families there.
And it's always night duty then, Lynn?
Yes, it tended to be. You had to be available during the night, so you'd sleep a lot during. It was like a night shift, if you like. Okay, so next person to read, I think, is Shiny. Shiny, are you okay to read?
Yes.
Okay, there you
Yes.
go.
The earliest record of a named individual working in a formal capacity as a lighthouse keeper was William Knott. He was appointed to the South Fordham Lighthouse near Dover, England in 1730. Electrification and other automated improvements such as remote monitoring and automatic bulb changing made resident keepers unnecessary.
Okay, well done. Nicely read. Monitoring, you were correct. You were right when you said at the beginning, not man, monitoring, remote monitoring. Okay? Nicely read. Okay, any questions? So, resident keeper, everybody knows what that means, yeah? If you were the resident keeper, what would that mean? What are you if you are a resident somewhere?
Someone who lives there
Yes,
for
to
months
live
at
and
some place.
sleep, eat, not just work there. So not a commute. I guess, you know, you'd have maybe a commuter now, and as I say, it's all automated now. But the resident keeper lived in the lighthouse. It was their home, more than just a job. What's another common use for the word resident? What industry talks about residents a lot?
A place to live, basically.
Oh, sorry, Vinay?
We use resident word for mostly place where we live, resident.
Yep, the place where you live, you're a resident, especially if you're
Yeah.
paying rent. And there's another one as well, another way we use that word as well, and that's when people talk about people who live in hotels, the hotel residents. Whilst you're living in a hotel or staying in a hotel, you're not just a customer, you're a hotel resident. Okay? So you might find jobs like resident manager, somebody to manage the people who are staying in the hotel. People often talk about guests, yeah, hotel guest. But if somebody's staying a bit longer, then they might talk about you as a resident, a permanent resident maybe. If you've watched Fawlty Towers, you know that happens. People actually retire to hotels to be looked after. I think it's a great idea. I'd much rather stay in a hotel than an old people's home.
Yeah, the
They say
atmosphere is a little bit
it
different
can,
at night.
yeah. Well, it can be either permanently or very long term. So if you're a guest, you're there for a week or two. If you're a resident, it tends to imply you're there week in, week out. I'm not sure, Vinay. I can't see your screen. It's not possible to help you here. Normally we go to. I don't know which viewer you're using either. I'm on Alchemy. You might be on Firestorm. So best thing to do is.
Yeah, I'm on Firestorm. Firestorm.
Okay. Best
Actually,
thing to do
I
is
can see
always.
I can see the chat, but the text remains for only 2 to 3 seconds and it disappears.
But can you
So
find a
I
chat
will
button? Look for the chat button.
chat. Yeah. In the preference, I find the chat
Uh-huh.
and I go to the chat window.
Okay, so if you click on the chat button, make sure the chat button is switched on. It should stick. Is anybody else using Firestorm?
I'm using Firestorm.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how can we increase the setting time?
Yeah, trouble is when I'm
Maybe
looking.
just click
Maybe
on that conversation or nearby chat conversation, and it keep
It should
staying there
just.
on the screen.
It should just stay. Yeah.
Sorry. Where can I find it? Hello.
We are here, but sorry, I could I can't get what the problem is.
Okay, I will take care of it later.
Yeah, I think you'll have
Let's
to
be.
live with it for
Yes, sir.
now if it's not working. See if you can take a screenshot of your screen and share it in the
Okay.
forum, okay? Then I can have a proper look at it. I haven't
Okay.
used Firestorm for so long, it's very difficult for me to imagine what it looks like. But all I know is I click on chat, the chat window closes, I click on chat, the chat window opens. So, and it's nearby chat that you're looking for. Nearby chat. Okay, but we'll need to move on, otherwise we won't get everything finished. Okay. So, no questions then. I thought what we could do is have a look at some of the descriptions of lighthouse duties, a keeper's duties, okay, from Seagirt Lighthouse. Now, a lot of these lighthouses have been preserved as monuments, okay. Vinay, could you mute your mic? We've got a lot of noise coming through, okay. I think I'm echoing through your microphone. Good, good, good. Okay. So, Monique,
Okay, I'm here.
I think you're next to read, and here you go. If you'd like to read that text.
Oops. Okay. Okay. Being a lighthouse keeper was not a 9 to 5 job. It was anything but. It was anything but. A typical tour of duty began before dusk and continued well past dawn. The keeper tended to routine but essential duties, made repairs as needed, and was always prepared to respond to any emergency, including shipwrecks. Faithful attention. Constant and faithful attention to their duties shall be required of all persons in the service, and no employees shall be absent from his station or duty without authority. It states instructions to employees of the United States Lighthouse Service in its 1927 edition. Leaves depend on the lightkeeper, and the lightkeeper depended on the 124-page instructions to employees of the United States Lighthouse Service as the official orders and procedures of the U.S. Lighthouse Service. A copy of the guide belonging to one of the Seagirt keepers is one display at the lighthouse. All instructions that follow come from this invaluable guide except where noted. Good.
Very good. Well done. Okay, so there's a guide. You did it! Excellent. Well done, Vinay. Woohoo! Okay, just needs a little bit of fiddling around with. Okay, good. Well done. So, couple of little words for you before we discuss that. First one, dawn, not down. Dawn.
Dawn.
Dawn, yes. When the sun comes up, we call it dawn. What's the opposite of dawn? When the sun comes up at dawn? What do we call it when it goes down?
Sunset.
Sunset, yes.
Or
So the opposite of dawn is sunset. Good. And then, unfortunately, April, did you catch the next one when Monique said lives? Yeah. What should it be, April?
I got it.
Lives.
Lives.
Yeah.
Lives.
Lives. Yeah, when you're
Yeah,
talking
life
about
depends, they're talking about
people's...
life.
Yeah, exactly. You have a life, and cats have 9 lives. So if you maybe remembered that one, cats have 9 lives. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. And then on display, not one display. What does it mean if something is on display?
How can I explain that? Hold on. I don't know how to explain that. Yeah, something that you can see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like on show. It means maybe there's a display cabinet or just a book on a table that people can look at, and it says it's on display. Okay? So if you go to a museum, all those display cabinets, the things inside them, they are on display. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, good. Any questions about the text?
A lot of responsibility. I wonder if they will be punished if something happens.
Yes. It was a lonely job, and many accounts tell of drunkenness, somebody falling asleep with a bottle of whiskey in their hand, and then a storm, a wreck, lives ruined, etc. Now, again, lots of legends about lighthouse keepers, so I wouldn't want to name names for fear of slander. But yes, a very responsible job, but a very lonely one and a boring one, because 99.9% of the time, nothing happens. Like most jobs. Seagirt, it's the name of this particular lighthouse. Okay, the Seagirt Lighthouse. Okay, so I think, Vinay, it's your turn to read next. So let me give you the text I'd like you to read. And it's about when they're on duty. On duty. Okay, so there's your text.
Okay. On duty. Lights must be exhibited punctually at sunset and kept lighted at full intensity until sunrise. Then the lights will be extinguished and the apparatus put in order without delay for relighting. Preparation for lighting the beacon began well before dusk. The keeper first inspected the personnel lamps and its many trestles, which were cleaned that morning. The lamp that produced the light was checked and the supply of fuel refilled. The wick was trimmed and lighted. The weights which dropped down the tower shaft, driving gear that caused the lamps to revolve, were unlocked and hand cranked up to the top, and a new descent started.
Very good, well done. Okay, just one. Okay, so one very important word here, lighting. The lighting. Not lightning or lightening. What's the difference between those three words? Lighting, lightning, lightening. Any
Okay.
ideas? Open question, everybody can
Um,
join in.
the last one is it goes with thunder, lightning, and the first one is about light itself.
Yeah, the first one is about light, you're quite right. I'm not sure about the third one.
The third one is used for as a verb. As a verb.
Yes, to lighten
Like
something. Yeah. So the third one is from to lighten a load, maybe. Nothing to do with light, to make it less heavy. Yeah? To lighten your load. Okay. And the second one, the middle one, what kind of lightning is that?
Yeah, the one that I was talking about before.
Yeah.
Thunder. Yeah.
It's almost like a trick
My bad.
question. I'm not trying to trick you, but it is about lightning, thunder and lightning. Okay. Now you will probably get, I'm just trying to see if I've got any lightning. I've got some in my I know I've got some lightning in Second Life, but I don't think I've got any in Kitely. Now, there's a very, very slight difference between the different pronunciations. Okay. Lighting, there's no n in the middle. Lighting. Then lightning. And then lightening. Okay. So you've got lightning. And then you've got lightening. And it's as well to although the in the middle is sort of, it's not obligatory, people drop it quite often, just to clarify what kind of lightning you're talking about, it's an idea to actually pronounce it. Okay. Oh, it was really bad lightning last night. And I was trying how would I use it in the ing form? We were helping our boss by lightening the amount of paperwork he has to do. Okay, so I would use the in lightening, as in to lighten. But well done, Vinay. Yes. But lighting is to do with the lights in your house, the lights outside, street lighting. Yeah. Then no at all. Lighting. Okay. Any questions about that? You're all clear? As clear as it can be.
And enlighten?
Enlighten? Do you mean enlighten with en at the beginning?
Yeah.
Enlighten. That just means to develop knowledge and understanding. Maybe spark a light in your brain. Everybody's seeking enlightenment. Okay? It doesn't have anything to do with light as such nowadays. It doesn't use that. It's not used in that context nowadays. Yes, the next word.
With the religion?
Yes, it's more to do with religion, spirituality, and knowledge. Okay? I'm trying to enlighten you as to English pronunciation, spelling, and grammar.
Exactly.
I'm trying to enlighten you. I think I confuse you more than enlighten you sometimes. It's a tough language.
Still dark.
Yeah.
It's still dark.
It's too dark. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to kind of find your own spark. You know, you have to find the things that make you more enthusiastic about learning more. So, Vinay, you're quite right. The other word, descent. It's about, your pronunciation wasn't too bad, but your intonation was slightly off. So it's descent, from to descend. Yeah. The elevator was descending. Yeah, so descent. The descent of the elevator was too slow. Do you want to try it? Descent.
Descent.
That's it. Very good. If you don't get the stress right, it can sound like exactly. Otherwise, it sounds like decent, as in he was a decent person.
The down in the order.
That's it. Yes. Descent means to go down. What's the opposite of descent?
Up, rise.
Ascent.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got ascent and descent, and then you've got decent and indecent, and there's also dissent, which you have to be careful of as well. Dissent, as in to not agree with something. So you've got decent, dissent, and dissent. Dissent and dissent, they are what we call a homophone. Yeah. So very important that you get dissent and decent separated in your brain, okay? Okay. So next I think it's Tough Guy. Tough Guy, are you okay to read?
Yes.
Excellent. There's your text. It's a bit techie, sorry.
Okay, no problem. At stations having one or more assistant keepers, watches must be kept and so divided. At stations having no assistant, the keeper must not leave the light for at least half an hour after lighting in order to see that it is burning properly, and must visit the light at least twice between 8 p.m. and sunrise, and on stormy nights must be constantly looked after. At the tallest lighthouses such as Barngate, with more than 200 steps to the top, and lighthouses with larger, more complicated lenses such as twin lights with first order and second order uh, Fresnel lenses. There was a keeper and assistant keepers to share the duties. A smaller lighthouse with fewer than 50 steps to the top, and smaller. Simpler lenses such as Seeger had a lone keeper.
Very good. Well done. So that plays into your worry about people with acrophobia, April. 200 steps. I think you'd have to be fit as well, wouldn't you? You've got to be able to walk up 200 steps every day and 200 steps down, and maybe twice more during the night.
I will stay there upstairs.
You just stay upstairs at the top, yeah. Take a book, a flask of coffee, a sleeping bag. Yeah, I think I'd be with you.
Yeah.
Now, what does it mean when it says here, watchers must... By the way, tough guy, perfect pronunciation, well done. Woohoo! Watchers must be kept. What do you think that means? Watchers must be kept.
You need to keep an eye.
Yeah, you need to keep an eye out. That's it. It's nothing to do with watches you wear on your wrist. It's from to watch. And a watch can be an amount of time where you have to keep watch over something. Yeah, it's often used in the forces, in the armed forces. Yeah, keep a watch out for enemy ships, to be on watch, so to speak. Okay. And a lone keeper. It's like alone, isn't it? Alone. Just means on their own.
Is it the same?
No.
On their own.
No. The keeper was alone, yeah? As in that there was nobody with him. And he was a lone keeper. Have you heard of the Lone Ranger?
No.
Oh, the Lone Ranger.
Oh, Mike, you are so young.
Yeah, I know. It's been I think there's been a new film made, actually. He was
It's
the
a movie.
lone...
I think it's a movie.
It was a
The Lone
movie, it was a
Ranger is a
TV
movie.
series as well. It was before my time, I must say. It was before my time. I know about the Lone Ranger from the song. It was the Lone Ranger, 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 Ranger. I'll see if I can put it onto
remember
English
that.
radio. Or maybe karaoke on Monday. Who knows? Okay, so how are we doing for time? We're about to run out, but I think this is good fun. So let's go back round. And April, if you'd like to read this text, please. As I say, urban legends abound with lighthouses and lightkeepers.
Urban legend. An urban legend describes an encounter between a large naval ship and what at first appears to be another vessel, with which the ship is on a collision course. The naval vessel, usually identified as of the United States Navy and generally described as a battleship or aircraft carrier, requests that the other ship change course. The other party responds that the naval vessel should change course, whereupon the captain of the naval vessel reiterates the demand. Identifying himself and the ship he commands and sometimes making threats. This elicits a response worded as "I'm a lighthouse, your call," or similarly, a punchline which has become shorthand for the entire anecdote. Oh, it just happened a couple weeks ago? US
No.
Navy in
This is
in the Philippines.
Yeah, this has been this has been an urban legend for many, many years that this supposedly happened. Nobody can actually confirm it. Okay, okay, just a little bit. We're going to play this role. In fact, Shiny and Monique are going to play this role in a moment. So, but let me just give April her feedback. You said it correctly a couple of times, and a couple of times you sort of made too much of a vibration z sound. It's double S, so it's going to be a soft S sound. Vessel. Try it.
Vessel.
That's better. And then identified.
Identified without any. Identified.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Identified. Without the N, that's me spelling, typing wrong. That's a typo. Identified, yes.
Identified.
That's it. And then reiterates. Not reiterates.
Reiterates. And what is without the re? Is that also iteration or
You
is it
can,
iteration?
yes, no, it's iteration. Yeah. Not iteration. It's it. So iteration.
Okay.
Let me just find it here. Here you go.
Iteration.
Okay. Iteration. And then, which is repetition in itself. And then you have reiteration, which is more repetition. Repeating the repeat, I guess. Bit like BBC programming. Lots of reiteration. And then again, elicits. Elicits.
Elicits.
Yeah, to elicit.
What's that mean?
If you, I try to elicit a response from you guys. I say take the mic, don't type. I'm trying to elicit a response. Or I ask you questions directly to elicit a response, to get you to answer me. Okay? To draw you out a bit. Okay? Okay, good. So, I'm going to do something slightly different now. Monique and Shiny, I would like you to play out this scenario. Monique, I think if you're the Americans, and Shiny, you're the Canadians. Okay? Okay?
Okay.
Okay, good. I'm eliciting a response.
Yeah, no, it's muted. Okay.
Okay, so where it says Americans, it's your line, Monique.
Okay.
Where it says Canadians, Shiny, it's a bit like English drama. Okay?
Okay. Americans. Okay. Please divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid a collision.
Recommend you divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid a collision.
This is the captain of a U.S. Navy ship. I say again, divert your course.
No, I say again, you divert your course.
This is the aircraft carrier USS Lincoln, the second largest ship in the United States Atlantic Fleet. We are accompanied by 3 destroyers, 3 cruisers, and numerous support vessels. I demand you change your course 15 degrees north, that's 15 degrees north, or countermeasures will be undertaken to ensure the safety of this ship.
This is a lighthouse, your call.
I love the story, but as I say, I don't know whether it's true or not. And on that note, it's a nice cheerful note to end on, isn't it? We'll stop this session. We'll move a bit further down the coast next week. Okay, so we're going to stay along this coast, but we'll move a bit further down. You're welcome, Monique. You're welcome. And thanks for coming, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, you can watch the replay if you think I've misheard you and you pronounced something correctly. Watch the replay and come back at me if you want to. But well done. Well done. Okay, take care. Bye. I'll be in Webinar Jam, of course, in what time is it now? Yeah, in about half an hour. All right.
Lynn, I see that the Canadians as your bot.
Yes.
give such answers.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's actually used a lot in people who do business presentations to really say it's dangerous to be inflexible. It's, you know, you have to be willing to compromise and don't be so self-important, because sometimes the only way you can avoid a catastrophe is to divert your course. Vinay, the link I sent you in the forum today, yeah, that's the link to our YouTube channel. It's a link to a playlist, but what you can do is just find the other playlists, Talk to the Hand. There's loads, honestly. I wouldn't recommend you watch them all at once, but certainly watch the ones you've been involved with, or if you miss a session, especially drama, and this session, if you miss one or two sessions, you're on holiday, then it is worth catching up a bit, because, for example, we started talking about lighthouses last week, and then we carry on this week. So if you want to come to this week's session, just check what we did the week before. Okay. Anyway, take care. I'm going to stop streaming now, and it's always, of course, the stream being available is always reliant on my connection working, and sometimes things go wrong, so there's no guarantee it will be there, especially if I forget to press the right button. You're welcome. Thank you, April. Bye, everyone. Bye. Exactly. Well, I'm nailing it. I don't think I've nailed it yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting to a point where I feel, okay, this is good. It's only taken me since 1999. When I think about how I used to do things in 1999 to what's available now, wow, things have changed so much. Trouble is, a lot of it's got more professional as well, so that's not always so good for me. Anyway, last week, could somebody explain to Vinay what we did in last week's session? Don't all speak up at once.
Yeah, please.
Oh yeah, Monique as well, yes. What were we talking about last week? Come on, April, you know.
But there are
So all of that would come under shipping hazards. And because of the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot more shipping about, and a lot more money being placed on shipping goods. And of course, nobody wants to lose the ship, the people, but unfortunately, especially the goods. It was driven by commerce more than philanthropy, I'm afraid. But yes, these lighthouses, they were built, I mean, they had been ancient, and then, but there were, like, you know, 3 or 4 ancient lighthouses, and then suddenly people were building them wherever there was a shipping hazard. And what was the other hazard that seafarers had to face, April?
I think about that people in the past, it is in the 90s.
Streamed Natasha's session, and I set a timer so that it would automatically stop streaming after a certain length of time, and it worked.
Wow.
I know.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
I think, it's awake.
No.
It's awake.
I'm getting very much into this automation business. Bots have opened a whole new world of possibilities for me. I mean, it's not that I can't rely on it to... I mean, it won't switch everything off for me. So I still have to be around. But what it should prevent, as I said to Aladdin... Oh, and Amatsu popped in to Discord yesterday. Aladdin, Marco and I were chatting very late at night. And as I said to Aladdin, it will stop me streaming for 2 hours, a blank screen. And stop him panicking, trying to contact me, saying, Lynn, stop streaming. Anyway, I nailed it.
There are a lot of places named, so that's why I can't remember all.
What was the
But
main,
we would
the things that stuck in your mind?
uh-huh. It's about that lighthouses in the past. It was important to give a safe route for ships and to warn them um, where there is how do you say that? A shovel? No, shoals places, and the reef, for example, also, so they can enter the port, for example, safely because of the lighthouse. Lighthouse is a tower where at the top there is a light. It could be um, working on oil or something else, even animal oil, argan oil or something like.
Oh wow, I'm
And
impressed. Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
the different kinds of lighthouses. I think you were trying to think of shallow, the
shallow?
shallows.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sometimes when you've got shallow water, we call it the shallows, or basically underwater rocks as well. They were there to warn against shipping hazards. Yeah, to warn
Oh,
against shipping.
shovel. This one.
Shoals. Okay, yes. Shoals can be
Yeah.
slightly different as well, though. You can have shoals of fish. Yeah. So if you have a shoal of fish, that's quite good. That's fish swimming together. So I think shallow water would be better. You can also have a shoal where it's submerged rocks. So it's submerged. Oh, hang on. I can't type. I'm in the wrong box. Hang it. Submerged rocks.